Hey, Zaefnyr here, made a new character in Dragon's Dogma, and that automatically means a new profile pic. And all my future content is now Dragon's Dogma. just kidding. Enjoy the light mode. So I'm trying to learn Spanish, right? And this implies that I need to consume culture in my target language so as to immerse myself into the whole gist of it. I fire up Netflix and I forget that I'm out of series that don't involve murder, drugs, or violent torture or sex scenes. Not to mention the fact that the entire process has to be fun to begin with, or that Netflix is a paid subscription that not everyone would afford. So I guess I sat there doing nothing at all. So I guess I hopped onto Steam, downloaded a bunch of free games with Mexican Spain, trademark Spanish localization, and on I went to check how much I could understand and potentially learn in the first couple of gameplay hours. I also threw in some paid games towards the end, as those ones are more likely to have Spanish dubs, and especially good ones.
¿Eso es todo lo que vale un shinobi?
I found a couple of really cool free games to play that are localized. This one though, full audio. In Spanish, Latin American? I don't have enough. I can't queue more stuff because I don't have a premium account. Yeah, I'd rather play Forge of Empire, which is mostly the same thing, but more in-depth and more focused on community. Also, it seems like a time and money sink that I'd rather spend on Guild Wars 2. Contraseña. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen contraseña instead of password. I tried. Look at this dodge. And I even managed
Bosque de Caledon
to do my dailies in Spanish.
I deserve an award.
I got it, I did my diarios, and now I have a saco pequeño de esquirlas espirituales, that's cool. But the game doesn't have any Spanish audio, so we can only get so entertainingly relevant to our goals, replacing Netflix. Back to the free games. Path of Exile was mostly intuitive. What does orilla mean? What the fuck does orilla mean? Orilla, single, double, and what the fuck German? I was trying to figure out what orilla means. Hold on. Bank, shore, edge. Beautiful. However, it lacked any kind of Spanish dubbing. But the voices aren't in Spanish. I could figure out that maza de madera meant wooden mace, and that golpe pesado just means skill that hits really fucking hard in theory. But beyond that, it felt like any other ARPG. Wow. And instead of understanding 10% of what I was doing, as you do in such games, I was somewhere around 78% instead. Not ideal to begin with, as now it was much worse. Not to mention that I tried to talk to my fellow Spaniards in chat and no one seemed to respond. Hey, at least now I know that destreza means dexterity and I can bully Dark Souls players in yet another language. Next I tried Lost Ark. I really liked the— oh my fucking god, this chair. I really liked the class presentations. Oh, I'm playing as Dante from Devil May Cry. Yeah, I'm definitely playing as Dante from Devil May Cry. The visual effects looked cool, and I liked how the game told you the name of the background song in the character select screen. Real neat, but that's mostly irrelevant. The presentations are gloriously dubbed and subbed in Spanish, so that's an intermediate speaker's wet dream. Off I went into the game. Sacerdotes this, sacerdotes that. It means priests. You help some pirates find a lost treasure and end up finding a lost ancient city where the holy relic explodes with the pirates' greed. Apparently you're the chosen one, as the wall wouldn't have opened otherwise. One thing that really irked me in the 2 hours I've played is that characters only speak their first line out of their whole dialogue.
Me caes bien. Tienes la mirada que hay que tener para este trabajo.
You have the face for this job. This kind of made the dub feel half pointless, but knowing how to read, necesito saber qué enfoque nos plantea cada avanzadilla. Para no dar un paso en falso, tendremos que darnos prisa si queremos encontrarlo nosotros. I was mostly alright. Wasn't long until the boredom set in, however. I noticed, spitefully, that as interesting the plot and story are, I can't for the life of me play top-down RPGs to learn the language. Or to learn anything. I played them to make insane builds after hundreds of hours of crying through orangey loot. Not to mention that if a game is an MMO, you would expect to interact with people in order to get the cultural sense and feeling you need in order to learn a language effectively. So how could we get that personal and interpersonal feel if we, 1, try to interact with people but they never respond, and 2, as a direct result, we refrain from trying to interact on our next experience? Well, my answer is to play games in which there was poured a lot of Blade and Soul. Blade and Soul is a Korean fantasy martial in which there was poured a lot of heart and love. A few of you doomer boomers watching this might remember playing crappy old games on your dad's computer when you were young. Oh, how I wish they made a sequel to Total Overdose. Stronghold Crusader is an RTS game that has Spanish dubbing, and it comes so close to the English dubbing quality that it almost feels like the exact same thing. I mean, listen to these.
¡Atención! You can count on us. Podéis contar con nosotros. Mi señor, My lord! Forward! Adelante!
Another close contender slightly related, it's also an RTS, would be Age of Empires 3, but only because it has 2 Spanish civilizations. I mean, the definitive edition does. The base game only has Spain, but in DE you also have the Mexicans. You get the idea. The funny units have funny Spanish lines you can spam until you learn them. Same thing as in Stronghold 2. This game has to be the basis of what made me really want to start learning different languages. That and shitposts.
A message from the pig.
Preparate la puta que te reparió.
Now on to the more expensive, large-scale and well-known games that feature your favorite languages, words, and spoken format.
بابا جاي لبلايستيشن 5.
PlayStation 5.
First game, Sekiro Sombras Buenas Veces. That sounded better in my head. So did the sign that tells you that you rage quit last time you played the game. The cutscenes were engrossing enough that I reminded myself halfway through skipping all the dialogue that I was here to listen to what they were saying to begin with. Which brings me to a certain question you might have. Shouldn't you know the game's ins and outs already so as to instantly understand what everything means when you play it in the target language? Well, yes. So alas is wings? But no. You see, the point of using video games to learn is to make the whole process fun. You might like a game enough that you've played it for 2,000 hours and you'll do it all over again without thinking twice because you're having that much fun. In this case, yes, go ahead and play the game you've replayed. As long as you're having fun while also reading and acquiring new vocabulary, you're doing great. For a few other people and I, however, there needs to be a spark of something new to keep the interest up. Also, I had no patience to relearn Sekiro after first trying Ogre for the first time ever. Second came Fallout 4. I got a feeling. I had fun hearing the translated version of the trademarked phrase.
La guerra no cambia nunca.
It was also really fun to make my characters into Moonman and Moonwoman while they kept telling each other how sexy they are.
¿Crees que mi nariz es demasiado grande?
While simultaneously looking more and more like the human version of a feral ghoul. Did you know you could press the interact button to try to escape while your spouse is getting killed in the vault? I sure didn't, but if you're having, or still having, fun with this game, I definitely recommend you play it to learn a language. Especially if you need to work in construction at the end of the day. There are so many words for building materials and miscellaneous items, upgrade lists, and settlement workshop items that you could probably receive an advanced language speaking diploma after finishing the game. Lastly, I noticed that Borderlands has full audio for Spanish and I decided to give it a try. I was not only pleasantly surprised, but addicted and hooked to the game as well. All those cringe, weak jokes were so much better simply because I was there to learn and not to be a full-time critic on the applications of comedy in video games. Most people who know English as a second language claim they know it because of shows, music, and games. I believe Borderlands 2 was one of the very first games I've ever played entirely, so my opinion on it? It's a great game, or even great series for learning. It has modern enough vocabulary while keeping itself simple and suggestive enough that it feels like a breeze to run through its fluid combat and cool weapon variety that you forget about the overall so-called weak plot because you're not there for it so much as you're there to learn while having fun simultaneously.
¿Me oyes, Tairin? ¡Ya puedes venerar mis abdominales! ¡Recuerda mi nombre! ¡Bon!
Which is exactly what Duolingo is doing that most other apps or methods aren't. People who use that app are learning very random and useless vocabulary for an average conversation, but it's fun. And that fun factor makes most people use Duolingo for a good few weeks or even months instead of giving up on their vocabulary practice the very next day because it's unbearably boring. But the how to learn a language is a full video's worth of a lengthier, albeit already very discussed topic out there. I'm glad you stuck around for this long, landlubber. Thanks for watching, ring the bell, join the Discord, spam some shit posts, but most important of all, have a clear say.